So for people who want to make money on cars, what are you seeing these days for investment grade vehicles?
I think the only way right now to truly make money on a lot of these cars is to hold. I think that the days of flipping a year later is not realistic. I think there are cars that are investment grade that are going to go up that seem cheap now. 550 Maranello, which we were talking about before, that's one of them. Any gated manual transmission Ferraris, not any, but some gated manual transmission Ferraris. Lambos, like I said before, I really think have a long ways to go. But I also think nothing's going to happen soon. And I still have trouble believing that cars will be a good investment relative to other stuff. I told you that owning a Ford GT is like owning bonds. I feel that way.
Yeah.
The GT continues to go up a little. It never goes down. It's pretty reliable to own. But like you compare it against the S&P's up 60% in the last 2 years, this GT ain't doing that. And even if it was, you got to service it. You got to pay insurance. You just store it somewhere. So there are ways to make money in these cars. Now, I will say I have all the service history for my Carrera GT, and I looked it up. This from the second owner until when I bought it. If he had held it that long, it did beat the S&P, including all maintenance, all repairs, and even if you added in fuel and insurance.
What was the original MSRP of that car?
440. And they're now average now amount of $1.3 million, $1.5 million, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
But that's also buying kind of at the peak of the S&P before the Great Recession where it went down.
Yeah.
And then the car outpaced right afterwards. So there's like a few variables.
I think the second owner of that car bought it in 2009. So some of that decline, I don't think the first owner would have beaten the S&P. Well, maybe because of the decline after that. But the point remains, like there are the possibilities exist, but like they exist in hindsight. It's just like buying NVIDIA. Like they primarily exist in hindsight, right? Like who knew that car would take off and some of the other ones wouldn't? Remember, that car when it came out was priced the same as the McLaren SLR and the Ferrari Enzo. Well, the Enzos took off too. SLRs are cheaper than they were in 2005. And how would you know? It's difficult to know what was going to happen.
Why has the SLR not gone up in value?
They made a ton of them. They're automatic transmissions, and they have some drawbacks. For example, the brakes, to replace brakes, it's $10,000 a corner. So 4 brakes is $40,000. Now, on a Carrera GT that costs $1 million, you can kind of justify that. It's harder on a car that costs $250 and that there's 3,500 of. That's kind of the problem with that. Plus, it's automatic. I mean, people don't want automatics. And, on an investment collectible car, the manual transmission has turned out to be one of the big distinguishing points.
So what cars today do you think would make a good bond strategy?
I still think Ford GT. I think those Ford GTs are going to continue to rise. They're still cool. People still seem to be interested in them. I think that one of the things that makes that car particularly appealing as a bond strategy is that it's not expensive to own.
Yeah.
That's not true of almost every other car that will probably increase in value. Countach will probably outperform the Ford GT, but it ain't cheap.
Yeah, I did a full service on my car, and I think it came to about $1,000 from the Ford dealership, and they replaced the struts in that hold up the engine bay in the back.
The Carrera GT is in service right now. It's $20,000 for like a pretty minor service. Like those cars at that level are expensive, and that's the problem. So some of those cars I think will gain in value, but the thing that makes the Ford GT so desirable in that world is just how affordable it is to own, while it's also slightly climbing in value.
What I find interesting, and this is something that you should get into, Jack, is these no stripe Ford GTs. These cars used to be the least desirable because everyone wanted the stripe on the car, and so few people ordered the car without stripes.
Yep.
And now the without stripes cars are so rare that they're selling beyond what like the Heritage model is selling.
Why do you think I should get it?
Why should have got into it 10 years ago?
Yeah, I like just. Well, do you want the market to plummet or something? Is that you want to buy one in about 2 years?
The no stripe and the whole
is that what your plan is?
I have been surprised. The thing about the Ford GT that's interesting, especially, is that the cars are all the same, and so the distinguishing factor is a few little things that wouldn't matter to 98% of people. Sure. People are astonished when I tell them blue ones are worth a lot more than white ones. What do you mean? They're the same. Well, they made a lot less blue ones, and the market for some reason values that weird thing. I actually prefer white. And I've decided that I don't really like Heritage. I think Heritage is kind of ugly.
Really?
You drive around and it looks like a race car. It's got all these orange things. It'll be weird. You drive that thing, people be like, that guy's weird.
I think it's cool.
But imagine
it's over the top.
driving that around. People be like,
the average person, it doesn't look as cool as like the other supercars.
Yeah,
to the average person.
But and then there's that component of it too. People think it's a Ford. People ask me if it's a Mustang. I don't know if you get that. It's like, well, kinda. I don't want to have it depends how much I want to talk to them in that moment.
Sure.
But nonetheless, the cars are generally desirable. You know, a blue one with my miles sold recently for like $350,000, which I have 43,000 miles on my car. I was absolutely astounded.
And what did you buy yours for?
$225 in 18. And I've put 13,000 miles on it. So I drove it a lot. I drove to Palm Springs last week and back. And, you know, it hasn't cost much to own.
What about for the average person who's not spending $300,000-$400,000 on a car? What do you think is the best investment grade vehicle that they could drive and at least not lose money on?
That's an interesting question. I'd have to think about it.
I'm going to say Honda S2000. That's mine.
If you're talking about specifically not losing money, there's a lot of good stuff.
Okay.
S2000 is a great example. And that's another car that is pretty affordable to own. Porsches, lower level Porsches came in Boxster, don't really depreciate all that heavily, especially if you buy them pretty depreciated. And honestly, they're pretty reliable. People think German and they get worried, but Porsches are pretty reliable. Even lower level 911s, 996s and 997s, the early 2000s. There's a lot of cars like that you can do kind of generally okay with. Even Corvettes, C7 Corvettes, you know, like 2010, 2012 era Corvettes. Are kind of hitting bottoms of depreciation curves and are just not expensive to own and drive and operate. I would probably pursue things like that. Where enthusiasts get into trouble is the BMW M3s, the cars that are wonderful and fantastic, but problematic. You have to be a real enthusiast who's willing to like spend money to have that experience. And those cars can be troublesome.
Yeah. What do you think about the 2000s manual Gallardos?
Yeah.
Do you think because they're not that expensive?
They're not as expensive as they deserve to be.
After having all of these, you know, car YouTubers on the podcast for a long, I've always liked cars and I always thought the Gallardo was cool because that was kind of as I was growing up, and you'd see that car, like, it was the most common Lamborghini that you see. It's like, oh, a supercar. I always liked the car. And it's kind of convinced me to like look into the market a little bit. And it seems reasonable. And I heard that they're also, in terms of maintenance, not that bad.
So that I find that car to be an absolute bargain relative to what it is. It's a manual V10. I mean, that's a Carrera GT. That's a really special car. There are some things I think that have held it back. It's always going to be the lesser Lambo, right? The Murcielago was always there. And so people have a belief that the very earliest Gallardos with the 5-liter V10 are not as reliable and that they later upgraded to a slightly bigger motor and those are more reliable cars. I don't know if that's true, but that's the belief. Especially the 04 cars, which is the first year, are like less reliable. But I think those cars are cool as hell. I mean, that's $90,000. You drive around a stick shift. It's a Lambo. It looks cool. Most regular people can't tell the difference between that and a Murcielago, which costs 2-3 times as much. I think those cars are undervalued, but I'm not entirely convinced that they will gain that much because the market has had a long time to appreciate those cars and it never really has, in a weird way.
But it seems hard to imagine losing a ton of money on that, considering like how can they really sell for much more than...
Absolutely, they can't go lower.
Yeah.
Your only loss would be in maintenance and repairs.
Yeah.
Which may be significant, but, you know, probably still less than the depreciation on your Tesla.
Yeah, actually, your Tesla costs more money than a Lamborghini.
Yeah, I do think about that a lot when it comes to, you know, my Ford GT. People are like, oh, I can't afford a Ford GT. It's like, well, I'm up 100 G's. You can't afford not to get a Ford GT. Like when you really, I mean, it's insane because the price of entry is still high.
Yeah.
But like people think I'm nuts for driving around a Ford GT. They got a new Explorer and it's like that car's lose $25,000 in like 2 years. I don't do that on my cars. I buy all my daily driver cars used. Like I can't justify losing new car money on that stuff.
Yeah. That's always been my mindset too, is to buy a car that you're not going to lose value on. Like my Lotus Elise didn't lose anything. Lotus Exige didn't lose anything. The Ford GT is up.
Yeah. And yet you've got this Model 3, like
and then the Model 3 is
because
lost more money
it's a daily that like you just need a point A to point B car. And that's something that you can care less about the value loss because your cost basis is lower. I think about this all the time. I got a Carrera GT cost $1 million, but I like wouldn't buy a new E-Class station wagon, Mercedes station wagon. I found a used one that matched my taste at a dealership in Oklahoma and had it shipped here to save however much money off it. I just can't imagine the depreciation hit. I just can't do it mentally. It's just not acceptable.
Speaking of the Model 3, I think a while ago I added up all the money that I've made from ad revenue off my Tesla videos, because one video got like 8 million views, another video got like 3.6 million views. There's another one with over 1 million views. I believe all of it together was like $130,000.
Yeah.
For the car.
This is how James Stradman justifies his and Hoovy and all the other guys. You went and saw Tavares, right? This is how they justify their purchases. Sometimes it doesn't make sense though. It makes sense for you and for others in some limited ways. I worry about Freddie. Do you worry about Freddie?
Every now and then before I go to bed, I think I wonder how he's doing. That P1. How much is that costing him? But you know what? I mean, that is made, I don't want to say it's made his channel, but like over the last year, it's constantly #1 trending.
I worry about all the other car YouTubers though, nonetheless. I worry about all of them. They all make horrible decisions. You need to go visit all of them and teach them how to do things correctly.
But you know what? Ed Bolian, I have to say, is so meticulous about it.
Ed's better.
Hoovy genuinely loves everything he's doing and would be doing it regardless. So like he's the exception.
But it's nuts.
But at least he's making money, right?
You know, he calls me in the spring every year and he's like, the taxes are going to be due next month. I gotta sell some cars. Like that's the level he's operating at. This happens every year. I'm not screwing with you. That's the level he's operating at.
But he's a different mindset. I don't think he cares. For him, I don't think it's about money at all. I think he genuinely, like when he bought the Fisker Karma, I felt like that was just a moment where it's like he's going to lose a ton of money on it.
All I
it was
do is
horrible.
sit there and watch his videos and worry about him. And that's true of all of them.
But yeah, Tavares, I think the P1 is he's spending so much money on it, but he's making it back, at least on the videos.
They do. To his credit, they do. His channel does great, but like, and then I just am scared about all.
Who are you most worried about?
Freddie probably is the #1 I'm worried about. He's got a big overhead. He's got like 3 garages, like warehouses. I don't understand why he really like he does.
He's fixing up like 20 cars.
He also doesn't release content all that often. That's the thing that scares me about Freddie. He posts like once a month, and he's just the audience is obsessed with him. Like I think he's nuts in a great way. Like I love watching the content, but like it would be nice to get more updates and posts. And I think that makes me scared. Plus, I know that he's got a loan on that P1 and it's significant.
Yeah,
and so that really scares me.
I think the views are offsetting it, but
probably
the one person I watch all the time, James Stradman.
Stradman is my guilty pleasure. I love
all of his. I watch all of his videos.
Okay, do you agree? Stradman sidebar here. Do you agree that his house isn't even done? Like you watched the video where he went through his house.
So we visited him and we saw his house. The gorgeous house, but needs the backyard, needs the basement.
The basement's like it's
a lot of money. It's tough either way, because if he finishes it, I don't think he's going to get back dollar to dollar what he spent.
Absolutely not.
But if he sells it unfinished, it makes the market so much smaller for whoever's willing to buy that house with an unfinished basement to spend more money.
This is the problem that I think a lot of these people run into, is that they end up buying these they get a little, young people get money and they're like, oh, I want a palace with a moat, like a lazy river that goes around the whole thing. And they do all these things and realize those places are expensive to keep going. And often in order to get a place like that, you have to buy land so far away from where land is desirable that it makes it hard to justify putting that much money into the land, because at the end of the day, when you go to sell it, the buyer pool is really small. I go on Zillow and I see these like 25,000 square foot houses in the middle of nowhere. And it's just like, you're never
asking $4 million for it.
Like
$100 a square foot.
Right. And it's like your buyer pool is limited, and even at 4 million, like this is going to sell for 1.6 in 7 years. When you come to terms mentally with the fact that it's only worth 1.6,
it was tough with him, because I remember talking to him before he was building the house, and his mindset at the time was, I just want like a 20-car garage, but I can't just build that because they won't permit it. So I have to build the house for resale value so that I have a structure that a family or someone else would want to buy. The thinking, I thought, was correct, but it's just
it's snowballed a little. I have this severe belief, maybe militant, that you should live somewhere where your land is more valuable than the improvements you make to it. Like
it's a very California thing to say.
Yeah, it is, or dense area to say, right? Like that's also true in nice neighborhoods in a lot of cities. Like I only ever buy old homes that are in kind of historic type neighborhoods that are very established long term, and I worry about the deep suburban living and massive house that is unsellable in the future kind of situation.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think he should sell the Koenigsegg?
Absolutely. I would have sold that Koenigsegg. I'm not a Koenigsegg fan. I don't find them that cool. I don't find them that interesting. It's his dream car. Although we are about the same age, he is a different generation than me. Like, he's into the Koenigsegg Pagani stuff, and I'm into the Countach 4GT stuff, like the manual older. And now he's a Countach also, and he had a 4GT. But he's clearly more into the more modern kind of crazy stuff. I don't care about Koenigsegg's. Like, and by the way, everyone I know who has a Koenigsegg has problems. Everyone I know who
What
has
are
a
the
Koenigsegg.
problems?
The problems are that the car is hand built by the company that designs and builds every little part themselves. And so stuff breaks. And when stuff breaks, you can't go to the Koenigsegg dealer because there isn't one.
Yeah.
And even if there was, which in some cities there are, there's no like parts supply. Like, they built all these things themselves. So like a little thing breaks, and it's like a Ford dealer, you go to the Ford dealer, they get you a power mirror switch, and a Koenigsegg, that's like a bespoke part that they made a limited run of 19 years ago.
Yeah.
That's hard.
So who's buying Koenigsegg's?
Who's buying Koenigsegg's and why? It's crazy. I don't understand it. I truly don't understand it.
How is it different from Pagani?
Same kind of thing.
I feel like I don't hear complaints from Pagani owners.
Paganis use a powertrain that is sourced by Mercedes-Benz, right?
Okay.
So at least that component of the car, which is a pretty significant component of the car, is taken care of, right? That component of the car is you're going to be able to find parts. In fact, that engine is still in production. So that's easier. And other than that, though, I would worry about Paganis in all the little intricacies. That stuff scares me. What if that stuff starts to break? I don't know. You're not getting that stuff. It's true of any bespoke car. And honestly, Ford GT part supply, 05 Ford GTs, they don't have a lot of those parts anymore either. Ford.
You know what? I'm going on eBay and probably going to reveal the secret, but buying Ford GT parts.
It's a smart idea.
Yeah.
The guy I bought mine from, he bought seats, he bought steering, like big stuff, and he was able to sell it. He hoarded. He bought it when the car was new, when all those parts were easily available, and he sold it 20 years later for like 7x what every part was like in high demand.
I'm talking to this guy on eBay who has every part that he's been hoarding for 20 years. He just bought everything, and he has duplicates.
Yeah.
Because I needed like a gauge. And he's like, oh yeah, I got like 3 of those.
Oh, which gauge failed? My fuel gauge is in off right now. Yeah. But right now, with the car is full, it's reading empty, which is fun.
Same.
It's a fun
mine is always empty, but I just top it off. Anytime I take the car out, I just top it off and I park it.
Yeah. But no, I the answer to who is buying Koenigseggs is people who already have everything else. That's like, oh, I got a Bugatti and I got a bunch of Lambos and a bunch of Ferraris and a bunch of Porsches. Like, I want to go to the next level, and that's Koenigsegg.